Hey everyone, it's Curtis here. I thought I'd do a different style of video and cover a bit of news. Not something I've done before, but I thought it was, a little bit exciting for us adventure bike dual sport nerds. And that is that Honda have released a CRF300L and CRF300L Rally in Thailand. This kind of came out of nowhere. They did just announce that the 2021 CRF250L and 250L Rally was going to have all these updates. And from what I can see, the 300L has all those updates and a bigger engine, which is what I've been saying for ages. It needs to be like a 300 or, more of a mid-size adventure bike because the 250s are underpowered. I got a KLX 250S. It's a bit underpowered. I just did a video recently saying they should do a 350. No doubt they're going to do the 300S soon with the KLX 300R. That should be coming soon, but looks like Honda has beat them to the punch, well, at least in Thailand. So we don't know if it's going to be released in the international market. You would presume so, right? Like there's a CBR 300 in multiple markets around the world, Australia, Europe. So you would think it's going to be released in other areas like the US, Australia, Europe, etc. But we'll just have to wait and see. Let's go over the specs of it. It looks like a really cool bike. It doesn't look like it's perfect. I'll go over some of the things I don't like, but I'm really intrigued by this. This could be a great small to mid-size dual sport / adventure bike. So it looks like they've addressed some of the issues we had with the 250L and 250L Rally. First up, we're going to talk about the engine size. They bumped it up to 286 cc's, so not a 50cc bump, but better than nothing. Most importantly is the previous bike was about 22 horsepower with 16 foot-pound. This is up to 31 horsepower with 19 foot-pound, so they've done a big job. No doubt the new 250L is going to have a jump in power as well because they've done some updates. But man, that's a pretty big update in power. It's about 36%, I think they said it was. Once you put a pipe, a tune, and open up the airbox on this, you could be getting about 35 horsepower, which is perfectly fine for a dual sport bike or a dirt bike. Man, that would be about perfect, I would think, especially for the reliability these bikes get and the service intervals they have. They've also added in a slipper clutch, which is really cool, always a good thing to have. Gear ratios have been changed. 1 to 5 they've altered. Most notably, they've made 6th gear longer, so I presume that's for the extra bit of power and torque, so it can actually handle the wider ratio box. Suspension-wise, they've added an extra 10mm in the front and 20mm in the rear. They've also got more ground clearance. They've done this by more suspension travel, but also they've mounted the engine higher in the frame, so that's pretty cool. Maybe most importantly is there's some weight reduction going on. These 250 bikes, they do need a little bit of weight reduction. They are a good weight, don't get me wrong, but compared to a full-on enduro bike, they're a bit porky. So weight is said to be down by 11 pounds or about 5 kilos. So the 250L is coming in at 304 pounds and the Rally is coming in at 330. I think that's about 139 kilos, but that's wet weight, remember. So you got to factor that in. It's all fluids ready to go. I'd have to see what people are weighing them in at, but, less weight is always better along with more power. So how did they manage to get the weight down? Well, they've modified the exhaust. They made it smaller. They put an LED lights at the front along with indicators. They've changed the airbox, tidied up the rear tail light, made the frame one piece, which I'll talk about later. So we got a new dash. By the looks of it, it's got a fuel gauge and a gear indicator. Got a new LED headlight, which is pretty much looks exactly like the 450L styling, which I think is fantastic because the 450L looks great and the old 250L was a bit ugly, to be honest. Here's a big one for you. It's got a larger fuel tank on the Rally. It's gone up from 2.7 gallons to 3.4 gallons, so that's a pretty decent jump and what a lot of people were asking for. So combined with the already good fuel economy, you're going to get some good range. On top of this, fuel efficiency has said to be improved. That's probably to meet Euro 5, so that'll have to be tested. We'll see what happens. I'm a little bit worried about the suspension. It's got more travel on both ends, which is always a good thing, but there hasn't been any mention of the suspension being upgraded. the KLX 250S and WR250R have much better suspension than CRF 250. I think that's where they're being let down at the moment, so we'll have to wait and see. But looking at a couple of videos from Thailand I saw, it looks really squishy. You know, when these little Thai guys are sitting on the bike, it's really squishing down, so that doesn't really fill me with confidence. So we'll have to wait and see. I dare say you're still going to be forking out for a for a suspension upgrade, some heavier springs, or I believe in the old models there was only one spring, so you put two springs in. One thing I mentioned earlier, the frame is whole one piece now. What I mean by that is the rear subframe is now welded. So I don't know 100% what to think of this, because if you're taking these things off road, you have an off. One of the things that usually gets damaged is your rear subframe. It just gets bent or whatever. So if it gets really damaged, you can just get a new rear subframe. You know, it's quite cheap, it's reasonable. If you bend your rear subframe now, it's attached to the proper frame on the bike. So I'm not sure what to think of that. It seems like it's just something extra that could go wrong. Like, I don't know how much weight they saved either by doing it. So we'll just have to see about that one. So it looks like this could be a really good bike, everyone. You know, the Rally and the 250L. I'd like to see. It's definitely a big jump in horsepower. It's, you know, by no means going to be a powerhouse, but it's getting quite close to the DRZ400. Plus, it looks really nice. Like, the build quality looks to be very solid. It's that typical Honda quality, maybe taken up a notch, and they really emulated the 450L styling, which I like. So we'll just have to see. It looks like you could easily lose some further weight from it with a tail tidy, exhaust, and a couple of other things, and you could have a really solid adventure bike here, or dual sport. But this is all speculation at the moment, because we don't even know if it's coming to the United States or Australia or Europe, so we'll just have to see. I'm pretty excited about this. What does everyone else think? You know, let me know what you think in the comments. You know, it kind of snuck up out of nowhere, this bike. Like, I saw the new 250s coming out, and I was like, oh yeah, that's great, good on them. We kind of want 300 still. Like, no one cares about the 250 anymore. So this is really good news. Now all we need them to do is bring out a 500cc Transalp. What do you think, guys? V-twin, that'd be nice. All right, guys, catch you later.